It's Matt, ESC United. It's your favorite Eurovision channel, and we're here to talk about, yes, you know the answer, but I'll say it anyway, Eurovision. And boy, what a crazy week that was the last few days. But the goodness is, I don't have to do it alone. I got two guests with me today. First of all, we got Gabe here, and of course, on top of that, Gabe's opinion, and they are massive. So we want to make sure we acknowledge them both equally. But my friend, how did you survive all of this madness, watching it, learning about it? Because obviously, I assume you cannot watch them all at the same time. How did you handle this whole shenanigans?
So I was very stressed about it, and I did a lot of cramming today, a lot of catch up. Um, but I got through everything, and overall, I was actually I sort of eventually stopped being stressed and did start enjoying it. And genuinely enjoying multiple national finals at the same time is extremely alarming and not a feeling I'm used to. So I think that's a really good sign, personally. As for the choices that were made, they were certainly decisions. But
Decisions
I'm
have
sure
been
we'll get
made.
onto that in a minute.
Yes, exactly. And we had, first of all, six national finals where a song was chosen. We got Poland, Norway, Croatia, Slovenia, San Marino, and Malta. And we had also like Sweden doing another Melody Festival in Heat 3. So we'll go for them one by one. And just in case you wonder how it's going to work, if you're new to this, the two of us will just first go over the actual hard news, and then we're going to discuss it, and then we want to hear your thoughts. Always in the chat at ESC United, so we know that you are talking to us and not, to each other, because otherwise it'll go past us for the most part. So, of course, always, if you want to support us, there are two ways. You can do it either by becoming a member here on YouTube to support us, or with super chats. Your questions will always be answered first. But if you don't want to do a monetary contribution, totally fine. If you don't mind, like this video and all of our other videos as well. Share them on social media, because that helps with the algorithm. YouTube takes that into consideration to kind of help us stay afloat in the crazy YouTube world. And that is very much appreciated as well. So I think we should jump right into it, because again, we have an absolutely full agenda for the day. And I think we should start with one of the shows that, well, we're going to do all of the shows from yesterday, but one of the shows I want to talk about, of course, is Poland. And we saw the conclusion of Poland's selection show. Do you know how to pronounce that, Gabe? My Polish is non-existent.
It was called
Tu bie serce Europy.
okay, 1 second. It was to be a set. I'm going to sound very Russian when I say this, probably, but to be a serce Europy, I think, something like that.
What he said.
Serce, definitely serce or something like that. That's the only bit I'm absolutely sure about.
I know all the Polish people in the chat going crazy. Oh, don't say it like that. But we tried. Anyways, but we do have a winner, because that's how these national finals go. And as you can see, after 2 rounds of voting, the winner turned out to be Christian Ackman. And Ackman is probably the name that he'll use on the Eurovision stage with the song River. And the show consisted of 12 participants overall. And the first round of points is where they had, basically 3 songs moving on to the super final, and those top 3 were able to perform the songs again. And as pointed out, Christian Ackman was one of them, Unmute, as well as Daria. And then the final 3 were called up on the stage to talk about the final results were announced. And then Christian Ackman took the win with 51% votes ahead of Daria, who got 39% of the televote and 10% of the votes. Interestingly enough, though, he did not win, apparently, the jury vote, which actually was given to Daria. So that is just really quickly, in a nutshell, what happened yesterday. And now I think we should all jump into the weeds here, share our thoughts and what Poland is looking forward to, according to our observation, come May. Handing it over to you, Gabe. What was your first impression of the show, the singer? Just take it away. Oh gosh, that
I
sounds
need
like
to
Jan
tell you,
Olsson.
I've got a theory. I've got a Eurovision theory that I'm going to share with you. It's called the Eurovision Moby Dick rule. Now,
Okay.
there is an old saying that if you give an infinite amount of monkeys, an infinite number of typewriters, and an infinite amount of time, eventually one of them will write the completed works of Shakespeare. The same is true for countries that suck at Eurovision and then randomly find an unbelievable song that could very well carry away the whole contest
Wow.
if all goes well. I love this. Yeah, it's like Portugal in 2017, randomly, suddenly being brilliant. It was just out of the blue. It blew me away when I first heard it. I had noticed Poland being higher in the odds than I expected, but I assumed it was just like with the randomness of the odds early on. I assumed there was no basis behind it. This song is so good. I think it's really strong. I've really enjoyed listening to it. It makes a big impression. The guy is a brilliant singer. The one thing I would say, they basically didn't bother staging it, in my opinion, in a way that really extended it to its full power. Please make the staging at the contest as dramatic and as impactful as the song is. And then we could see a proper contender here. I am so excited for Poland. Finally, after all these years of being great at junior Eurovision and then just sort of shrugging your shoulders did my lights just flicker? Shrugging their shoulders in the senior contest. Finally, we have what we deserve and what the country deserves. So, yeah, I am delighted. And the right song won, and it was fantastic. Brilliant. 10 out of 10. Great job, Poland.
Yeah. So technically I did 2 reaction videos. Now, first to all the songs that were in the running in the Polish national final, which I am unable to pronounce. And then, of course, last night I reacted to the live performance because I, of course, high expectations. Immediately, just listening to all the songs in the running in Poland, I knew that River was the one. You just know when you hear. Now, actually, I will say the whole Polish national final, according to my observation, was really good. There were a lot of songs, even songs that I really liked. I knew they weren't like right for Eurovision. There were so many songs that I was really appreciative, and it feels as Poland is slowly catching up to their junior Eurovision success, right? So maybe they're slowly learning, and or quickly in this case, actually. So I am equally thrilled with what I saw in the voting. I'm of course always nervous because it's wonderful to have national finals, to listen to all the songs, and it's also frustrating to have national finals because then you get always disappointed by the outcome because your favorites more often than not end up losing or not winning, I should say. So you don't have that problem with the internal selection. The Netherlands doesn't have to worry about that, like what could have been kind of situation. So with the national finals, you always have that. So that's always the bitter part. But I do think that absolutely Poland made the right choice, and you brought up a good point, which I also shared in my original reaction, is that first of all, the staging needs to change completely, and we do know that Ahmed already said that he will. Somebody in the chat, and forgive me, I forgot who it was, but they did say that the Polish broadcaster never put any effort or money into the whole staging in national finals. So we know that it's going to change. And when you look at some of the previous things that we've seen Poland national finals, it looks very different once they are on stage. So I'm less worried about the staging coming together. My concern was also the singer Ahmed, even though vocally he was flawless, right? His voice is just ridiculous. I was like, oh my God, if he looks that pale and that disengaged, it is concerning to me. But we also, apparently he was very sick. He had to cancel concerts and performances prior to this because he's been really sick, which then explains why he was kind of disconnected to the performance. So I said actually on Twitter, oh, I'm so glad that he was sick. I'm like, that came out wrong. Of course, I'm not glad that he is sick, but I am at least it's good to know that this is just a matter of feeling better and fixing what's out there. Because everything that I saw that I was concerned about, or most of it, I should say, can easily be fixed. The staging, his energy, and all of that, because it is going to look great. Are there any other things that you think they should focus on from now till May besides, getting augment back to health and the staging?
Well,
What do
I
you
think you
think?
covered it pretty well. I mean, mostly, they'll take the time to reflect on it. Obviously, he was unwell. He gave a great performance in difficult circumstances, and he sort of made it through. Now he's got time to sort of iron out all those other bits. I mean, I'm very conscious of the fact that the time people have to prepare for their Eurovision performance is much greater than the time they have to perform for prepare for a national final. And obviously, they're going to be putting in more effort with more backing and a bigger team of people around them as well. We're
Mhm.
more than 75 days away from the contest still, so he's got time. I did want to shout out a couple of the other songs in
Yes.
the national final that stuck out to me. I really enjoyed Chista Voda, which was the sort of folk song. I
Oh,
thought it had a really nice sound, and it was sort of like, and I looked at that and I thought, I was thinking of that ridiculous song that Moldova has sent, and I thought, okay, this is how you do folk in Eurovision. This is so much better. So I was massive fan of that, and I'm a sucker for a Bond theme. So Docad caught my attention for that reason, just on the basis that it sounded like a Bond theme.
yeah. It was interesting because the top three were very interesting to me as well. Daria was my second favorite. Yes, it was. You can say a little bit more a standard pop song, but I thought it was well executed. People were concerned that she's not the greatest live singer, but I thought she nailed it. She did really well, and I know she won the jury vote, which was a big surprise. Unmute was a very interesting choice. In case those who did not watch the Polish national final, it was basically a group consisting of deaf individuals. So there were zero like spoken words. It was all just sign language, and they still made it to the top three. Was that a surprise to you, Gabe, or that was you
Um,
thought that this was has like a niche?
it's okay. This is a bit of a curiosity for me because I mean, it's actually an interesting question about whether sign language would be considered vocals in the actual contest, because that
It
would render the song ineligible. I presume that they got some kind of confirmation of that beforehand,
Not
whether it was
necessarily, I
eligible or
don't
not.
think, because they could just say, and I know I'm going back a little bit in time, over 25 years now. In 1995, it's Nocturne in Norway. It was initially completely instrumental as well, and they were forced by the EBU to add like a little bit of vocals at the beginning and the end, so they just did the bare minimum. So it's possible they would do something similar here. Granted, it hasn't been tested in so long. I don't think that the Polish broadcaster has gone for that because I don't think they thought it was going to win. It was a nice little, like, almost like awareness song, I think, more than anything. The rules are still the same. Nothing has changed. Some people said that some wording has changed because it says language now, and people were saying, well, sign language is a language, but then later on it says vocals as well. So I'm pretty sure if they would have won, they would have had to add actually some sort of language. But
I'm sure they would have found a way.
yes, they would have found a way. Yes.
But yeah, like I don't have any. I thought it was an interesting idea. Um, I think it would have faced a lot of challenges in Eurovision. Like in the national final, you're putting something across to an audience in one language, and there's two things at play here. Firstly, deaf um, uh, deaf people in Poland will have understood the signs. Secondly, Polish people who don't understand sign language will have understood the subtitles. Every country has a different sign language, and you can't. And if they put the subtitles in English, a large amount of the continent won't understand the lyrical content. And if it's on screen as like text, that makes the content of the lyrics far more important because you're consciously drawing people towards that. So I think it would have faced some logistical challenges in Eurovision. I'm glad it participated in its national final. I think it's also for the best that it didn't win it.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good summary of the song. So I agree with that. I also agree with you, and I think her name was Carolina, the Polish folky song that was out there. I love that debate. I talked about it on social media as well, on Twitter. How I know this would not have been the right choice for Eurovision, but I'm glad that they added it and that there was a lot of love and support from it. I love that kind of stuff. I would have liked it to see it Eurovision, but I understand for Poland's sake of bringing home a better result. I think it wouldn't have been the right choice, but I want to give a shout out to that song because it was just so beautiful. A lot of talk was also about the 2009 representative Lydia, who essentially represented Poland in 2009. She had a song in the running, and that unfortunately did not work out quite as well. It was called Why Does It Hurt? And apparently it hurt a lot of people because she completely sounded off and wrong. It was almost embarrassingly to watch. And afterwards, I went on Facebook and I saw the songwriters go off on her in really big ways. Like she completely just decided to change the song to her liking, and they were like, "This is not the song we wrote for her." So apparently there was a little bit of a fallout as well. So that was really awkward as well. I just noticed that. There's always, I guess, you always have to have some drama somewhere. But I think overall, the Polish show went well. You didn't see it live, I don't think, Gabe, but one thing I also want to show, like, it was very confusing for us non-Polish folks because we jumped back and forth between shows. And Poland did this thing. They had like 3 songs and they had an interval act. And then they had like something this. And we always thought, is that part of the show now? So you got lost in track. Like, am I listening to an entry or is it just some random performer? So that was very, very difficult to keep track of. But I enjoyed the show very much. I think Poland is on the right track. And anybody has questions in regards to Poland in the chat, now is your chance to do so, and do it by @ESC United. So we know what your questions are. Gabe, I know it's early. It's early days, as they say on Love Island, but the I don't watch it, but they made fun of it on SNL once, so I'm always getting stuck on that.
Great show, amazing
anymore.
show.
I watched it I watched it a couple of seasons, like on the side, and I'm just like, it's to fall asleep to. I'm like, it drives me nuts. But anyways, the point is, right now, if you had to predict, like, do you think Poland could break, number one, the jury curse with this song, and 2, could potentially not just qualify, but get another left side of the scoreboard result?
So I think yes, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I think it's a strong song and he's vocally brilliant. We know that juries really like that. The second thing is that we see this happen in countries where they have a high chance of winning in any given year. The more people watch the show, people get excited. It starts getting talked about on Twitter, in news articles. If it gets around the Polish diaspora across Europe that Poland's in with a chance of winning, the televotes are going to pour in their droves. So we are going to see some big scores for this song. And it's those factors combined with the fact that it is a genuine, rightful contender that is going to push this right up the order. Right up the order to potentially to the very top.
Jose Hanjeo, or Ranger, but I think one of my friends' name was Hanjeo, so I think that's how you pronounce it. Do you feel the poor lyrical content could harm the song? So here's the thing. I don't perceive it as poor lyrical content. I'm going to ask you as well, Gabe. I think my bigger concern, that's just me getting hung up on it. One of the few flaws that the song has is the way the lyrics are written, in terms of like they're squeezing too many syllables into the melody, like he's trying to put too much lyrical content in that line, which melodically hurts it a little, in my view. That is my biggest issue, but I don't think any of the actual content, the lyrical content, is going to harm the song. How do you feel, Gabe?
I think you've got to bear in mind that most of the juries and most of the public will hear these songs a maximum of 3 or 4 times before they make their decisions in the final. Even 3 or 4 times is a lot for most of the public. And in that amount of listens, people will not have built up the insight about the lyrics, especially if you think about the context that people are watching in. They're talking about it with other people in the room. Maybe the TV's on in the background or at a party, which actually I think relegates that to quite low on the list of priorities. One example of this, if you think of what was the song? It was the Ukrainian song, the one where they had the sand artists. What was the name of the
Ukraine
song?
or Moldova?
Angel.
You're talking about
Mika Newton, Angel, some years ago. The lyrics of that song are ridiculous, have awful grammar, and make no sense, but it still did really well. As an example. So I think that's actually not going to be much of an obstacle for this song. I think people will let that slide. Obviously, there's a limit, but this doesn't
Yeah.
go past that ridiculousness limit. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Couple questions from Thomas is asking, do you know that Daria was a jury winner yesterday? I can't believe that Daria won with Augment according to jury. Yes, I did. Like some people are saying in Poland, I cannot confirm the accuracy or the validity of these claims, but they're saying that initially Daria was the broadcaster's favorite and they wanted to center internally and then was added. So they're saying this was like a thing that they wanted to push her through, but then the televoters overruled them anyway. So I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know the specifics, but that was one of the things that people are saying. But yes, we were aware that Daria actually won the jury vote. And I'm sure a lot of Polish fans were like getting really nervous at that point. And I know that feeling because I know how strongly the Polish folks feel about the song. And I'm so glad I'm on the same page. One more question here. How would you stage River? The staging in the NF obviously needs to be scratched. Gabe, do you have any vision or idea on what they should do? I know we're not choreographers or anything like that, but is there anything that just your vision when you think about it?
I think the music video had a lot of interesting imagery in it. Sort of use of black and white and so on. I think that's a good place to go with this. I think that, you're setting up a very obvious image. The song is called River. So using some sort of, water flowing elements to it.
Didn't they say, actually, didn't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry, but people saying that they may have like a water thing on the stage in Italy. Somebody was saying that would be the perfect set, like a waterfall thing. So that would be the perfect setup.
Yeah, that would be ideal. So if they can do something, I think they really, buy into the imagery of the song. It has to be one whole coherent product that all makes sense together. You want to make the viewers really buy into the picture that you're selling, the sort of sound that you're creating. And you could do that. Like, people will see the name of the song and they'll start thinking about water, and you have to exploit that. That is the number one thing I think that they have to consider going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it should be, when I say minimalistic, not just like, but I think it's about, I don't necessarily think he needs a band on there. I mean, keep it maybe then just subtle in the back, but it should the focus on him with the colors and just the feel of the song, because that is the feeling that I wouldn't say abandonment I get from the song, but I get a little bit more of a personal, intimate feel with that song, and I feel as that's how it should be staged. So, but we'll find out in the future days. Have plenty of time to talk this through, and we are very happy for the Polish fans because it's time for them to get excited, not just at junior, but at the adult version as well. But we got to talk more because we had a few other shows over the last 24 hours, and one of them is actually Norway, and that was another interesting show, to say the least. A lot of surprises. So I would actually like to go through that real quick. But also, first of all, it's been decided. The results are in. They have picked their entrant for Eurovision, and the name of the band is Subwoofer. They were the favorites all along before the finale aired even, and they were able to fulfill the expectations, won MGP. The competition, though, they bared their teeth along the way as well. And this has been a long, ongoing national final. They have been whittling down the hopefuls via a very interesting, we're going to talk about it, setup. Long-winded duels and songs have been eliminated. Ultimately, they brought it down from 4 semis as well as a second chance round, then to the finals, and then they made it through. We had a lineup of 10 songs in the national final. Then the voting opened during the live shows, and then people could vote in Norway, of course, for their favorites. Then there were a slight change in the rules when the usual silver final was skipped entirely this time around, because usually it was the 10 songs would then move on to the top 4, and then from the top 4, 2 will move on to the golden final, the top 2. That has been eliminated. The silver final has been skipped entirely, but we Subwoofer, Northkid, Sophie, and Elsie, they were announced as the top 4 in the televote, so they were at least announced, but there was no additional voting. They immediately eliminated, though, Sophie and Elsie, and then failed to make the top 2 for that reason. Obviously, that means Northkid and Subwoofer competed in a head-to-head duel, and just like how it goes, there can only be one winner, and it was Subwoofer. They are now going to represent Norway at Eurovision. And a lot of talk. There has been a 40,000 vote difference around between the two acts. Let me take a look here. 312,223 for Northkid, 368,106 for Subwoofer. So Subwoofer going to tour in Italy for Norway. We got to talk about it. Gabe, the floor is yours. Your thoughts?
I have a confession to make.
Oh no, I don't like the beginning of this.
I tried so hard to hate this. It is everything.
You failed. You flopped.
It's everything. It should be everything that I despise distilled into one evil little package. But I listened to it before and I enjoyed it. And I don't know what to do about that.
Counseling may help.
I don't want to like it. I don't want to like it, but it's doing it anyway.
Oh dear. Really?
It wasn't my favorite, but it's so catchy.
Yes.
I just can't. I want to dislike it so much, and I just can't.
They got you. They got you. That's exactly what they do. Like, you can try, but you won't succeed. And if you say you hate it, you're probably lying. Because I feel the same way. I was like, look, it's a fun, what does the fox say? The 22 version of it. And it's fun, but I think it would not do well at Eurovision. I was all about Team Elsie, right? Beautiful song. Oh, I love it to death. It's still my favorite. I will say that.
Same.
That being said, totally get it. Totally get it. And I'm very, very tiptoey and careful when it comes to gimmicky entry. I'm using this slightly because there's a room for interpretation, subjective. What is a gimmick? What is a joke entry? And what is not? People have different interpretations about that. But I do think that this is a lighthearted song where they talk about not to have their grandma eaten, so give the wolf a banana while they're pretending, wearing wolf costumes and not knowing who they are. And there is that aspect to it. But there is this insane catchiness that you just can't deny. And the studio version is fine to me, right? But when it's live, it's just like, it's going to be a moment at Eurovision. And yes, is it a polarizing entry? Absolutely. But it's that kind of polarizing where you can really, really grab a lot of support, because once again, this is not Big Brother. You cannot vote against the song. You can only vote for a song. So that will definitely be an advantage when it comes to Norway. And yes, of course, you want as many people like the song as possible, but I'd rather have a polarizing song than just a meh entry. But you said, Gabe, that Elsie was also technically your favorite in the lineup.
I thought I had loads, like this national final. I thought the final actually, it gave us a lot of really different, really interesting things. Elsie was my favorite, and I also, my second favorite was a qualifier, was Made of Glass. So I really got on the ballad train. And actually, so it was my third favorite, come to think of it, which was Dangerous by Farida. So just loads of ballads. I really like the ballads. And the one time I like the ballads, none of them even make it to the, none of the ballads I like even make it to the final two. So I guess that's just Norway's way of personally attacking me. And I'm offended by that. In any case, I thought Elsie was fantastic. I think there's a few artists in here that I'd love to see back again. She is one of them. I think Sophie Fjellvang is another. Maria Mon.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, again, fantastic voice. So there's a few here that I could see representing Norway in the future. I mean, I know Ulrika as well wants to come back next year, which will be exciting. So I think there's a lot to look forward to, despite the fact that they're not going this year.
Yeah. And one of the things that people were really shocked about is that Subwoofer was not battling like Made of Glass or Elsie song or some of the others, but they actually ended up battling Northkid, that they made it to the final two, to the gold round, and people were shocked and getting really, really nervous. And personally, I was very surprised as well. I don't live in Norway, but I do know that the name is already a spoiler. Northgate, right? They have a huge fan base clearly in their part of the country. When you look at the results coming in as well from the regions, they won the north part by like a landslide. They got 79,000 votes. They're over 79,000 compared to 28,000 for Subwoofer. So maybe that pushed it through. But people are saying they're also a little bigger in names. But for us outsiders, a lot of them, I know they're always supporters of a song. The vast majority of people were shocked to see that, because I always call it a Norway 2003 reject to me. That's something that would have worked like almost 20 years ago, but then even then with that kind of music, they flopped even 20 years ago. So this would have never, ever worked at Eurovision. I just don't think. So I was shocked when they actually made the final two. I did an initial reaction video and I was pretty harsh on that one. I was like, this is not going to be a thing next, you know? And then here they are, second place, almost winning. Nothing against the band. They seem very likable. And what I loved about after Subwoofer won, they were, first of all, very gracious second runner-ups. I think they were happy that they made it this far, and they were dancing along to the song, and they knew the choreography. Elsie knew the choreography. It's like, I think Norway made the right choice when all the contestants know exactly how the song goes and dance along to it. That is powerful. Were you surprised too?
So I think this is something that people perhaps don't see. You will have seen it having been in the press center for a number of years, and you occasionally get glimpses of it in interviews. The artists in these national finals and at Eurovision actually really get on very well and really like each other and want each other to succeed and are happy for each other. And so I thought it just shows that clearly that song has gone down really well with all of the different other participants, and they sort of got on board with it. I imagine there's a few who hated it, as there is with everything. But yeah, I just think it's really nice to see it's really nice to see like that kind of like camaraderie and good natured, you know, that's what it's, people seeing what it's really about and just, and sort of reveling in it in that way. I think because especially I imagine it's incredibly disappointing, especially like Elsie Bay, who was quite hot. She was quite hotly tipped. I think not making that final two would have been disappointing for her. But to then go on and just embrace it in that way, I think is really nice. Like I said, I'm deeply upset that I like it, and I'm really trying not to, but I'm failing at the minute.
Don't try, just accept it. They got you. No, I kind of feel the same way. I was like, well, it's not going to be like on repeat for me, but every time it comes on, it's just like I watch a clip, I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. So it's just that kind of song. I think it has a lot of, that is the biggest appeal about it. And Carl T is asking, do you think Norway will do well with the juries? That is the biggest question, because in Norway, I think the national final was 100% televote. So now they have to go to Eurovision, and there will be a little bit more of a hurdle when it comes to that. Do you think it is a hurdle, or do you think the juries will embrace it as well? What are your thoughts?
I don't think the jury is going to love this. It'll pick up some points. It won't like bomb down to the bottom of the field, but it won't pick up many. I think there are a lot of countries that will blank it, and some, they'll end up roughly in the middle. Somebody in chat saying it could be another Kano scenario is a very valid point. I think that's about what I'd expect as well.
Yeah, I must say, could potentially be more of a Goa situation, because I do think they could get 10th place with the juries or something left side of the score, but not as high. And then because I think a lot of juries could appreciate just this very, in some ways, daring choice. Because sometimes the juries can surprise us as well. Like, that's what they went for. And I could see a certain appeal there as well. So I do think there could be some jury support. Certainly will not go to the top 10, I don't think, or of the juries, and now watch them, it may surprise us. But I feel the same way, what you're just saying. And could be slightly better, like a Goa thing. We don't know yet. We don't know all of the competition. But I don't think they're going to completely destroy it. I do think there will be some love for it. I think it might do better than a little bit than kind of, but we shall see.
Mm.
Do you think, Jose is asking, do you think Norway and Latvia being in the same semi will harm their qualifying chances? Do you think they could steal votes from each other, Gabe?
I mean, put it this way: I had a look today at that semi-final and what's in it so far. I think neither of them are going to have any trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll come on to Slovenia later, for example, but I think, the Citizen's song is much stronger in a similar style, but much stronger. I think it does well on its own memories, not just because it's like, ha ha, they said pussy, that means vagina. Like, the appeal of that song is a bit deeper than that. I also
Mm-hmm.
thought, like, there's somebody in chat saying it's too many joke entries this year, and I think that's complete rubbish. No offense, but firstly, I think there's some zany entries, or things that have like silly elements to them. But this isn't Dust in the Turkey we're talking about here,
You're right.
or Pirates of the Sea. Like, we've come a long way since 2008. Nobody's playing a toy guitar on stage. So,
Yes.
I think we need to not. This is the other thing. We should remember to not take ourselves too seriously. This is a song contest. Like,
Yes.
we get very angry about it. I go on silly rants because I don't have my priorities right. But, like, chill out and just try to enjoy it is like the first thing, which we sometimes forget.
Yes, exactly. And I agree with what you're saying. And I'm not saying that's a comparison, but I do. We got similar comments like last year. Italy and Finland will kind of cancel each other out because they have like a similar, more like target group. And look at them. One ended up winning the televote, and Finland was fourth, something fourth or
Both
fifth
did really
with it.
well.
Yeah, both of them can do really well. So I don't necessarily think that this will be a hurdle for them either. And we tend to do that with songs that are not mainstream pop, right? We can have all these mainstream pops, and no one says, "Well, they're going to cancel each other out." We always just do that with something less predictable, I guess. So no, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think especially last year in the televote, it has shown us, that unique or like different, it's not a problem. If anything, it has become more of an advantage, I think. So, and I have my opinions about Latvia very much, but I will not, just diss it or dismiss it, I should say, just because, I have my opinions about that song. So, yeah, I agree with that. So, one more question here by Jelly. The MGP format doesn't make sense to me. A direct qualifier won for 3 times in a row. The semis are useless. They should go back to the old format with 1 final and 10 songs and the jury. And that came up a lot. I tweeted about that yesterday, and I basically had the same sentiment. Again, they started doing this national, the semifinal thing, this elaborate thing in 2020. So that's the 3rd year now. I can't believe 2020 is now technically like the 3rd year in Eurovision terms. But anyways, the point is, Ulrika was a direct qualifier in 21. Tix and Kaina, who were the finalists, were direct qualifiers. And then in this one, both North Kid and Subwoofer, as well as Elsie, like 3 of the top 4 were all direct qualifiers. Yet we're going for all these long shows, bringing in the actual semifinalists when at this point we can say that the producers know the better songs, the more popular songs, already pre-qualified. Why go for all that show? Some people are saying, well, it is great ratings, so why stop doing it? I guess that makes sense. People are saying, well, it's a great opportunity for new and upcoming artists to get the exposure. I guess you can make a case for that as well, although it could also backfire on, because apparently there are some songwriters who now distance themselves from that because they don't want to be like, oh, I have to go for the semis, but they don't. So that is another thing that's happening. So to me, it would be, I agree with, it just doesn't make sense to have some songs directly to the finals, because the reasoning that the broadcaster is giving us is this whole, well, we just want to make sure that the national final is diverse. I'm like, then don't have semifinals if that's your main goal. You cannot just have, so I find that a very stupid reason to kind of put that out there. So I'm like, either have them all go through the semis or just don't do it. It just seems very unfair, and it seems like a waste of time. And again, yes, ratings, you make a good you make a valid point. You maybe can talk about, giving the people and some exposure, newer folks. but it still seems kind of like it almost backfire in the long run. How do you feel about this, Gabe?
Yeah, I actually agree. If I was Norway, though, I wouldn't scrap the semis. Instead, I would just shamelessly rip off the format of Melfest. Just do exactly the same thing. Like 4 semis, 2 to the final, everyone else, 2 to second chance round, final with however many entries that spits out the other end. If you want to do semifinals in a national final, then take some tips from the people who know most what they're doing, and that is, like it or not, Sweden. So I would just go all out. No direct qualifiers. If you're so confident that those songs are great, then stick them in a semi-final and they can earn their place like everyone else.
Yes, I think that's a very good thing you're bringing up there, and I completely agree. So good luck to Norway. We'll see what's going to happen. And by the way, if you have more questions, at the very end, we're going to have an open Q&A. So hold your questions for Norway or anything else, and we'll answer them. But for now, let's talk about, you know what? TikTok. The countdown to Albina's successor is over, because we do have a new representative for Croatia at Eurovision. I see it, Gabe. Shut up. But we need to talk about it. You said nothing. That is sign language. I know how I speak annoying. Okay, so. And as you can see, Mia Dimcic, she won Dora 22 and will represent Croatia at the Song Contest 22. Again, we're going to be in Turin. The name of the song, Guilty Pleasure. And it was a pretty big lineup that was in the running. 14 acts to be specific. It was a long night. The show was hosted by Dusko Kulic. I shouldn't be pronouncing these names. Elizabeta Brodic. And then the 2018 representative Franca. And half of the votes were given by juries, and then half of the results determined by the viewers at home. And then in the event of a tie, the public vote will take precedence. So Albina opened the show, by the way, and she had a new remix of her TikTok version. And but ultimately, the points came in after the performances. The regional jury gave their votes, and from all over the place. And there were actually quite diverse in many. Well, there's some songs ignored, but ultimately, Guilty Pleasure won the jury vote, 91 points, and then the song "Forgive Me" received 81 points, 10 points behind. But then the televote came in, and that one kind of sealed the deal, I guess, for Mia, earning 166 points from the viewers, a significant number, and then she was crowned the winner of Dora 22. And again, that's the song for Croatia in Turin. And we got to talk this through as well. Gabe, your thoughts?
I find the song a bit underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's
the suspense is killing me.
It picks up in the last minute. Well, I like to keep everyone on edge. I like to keep you in terror, not knowing what awful thing I'm about to say. But yes, I found it it dragged a little for me. It picked up towards the end. Last 45 seconds felt a lot stronger, but until then, it just really didn't grab me. I think it's going to get lost, which is a shame because she's a good singer, but it just doesn't tick enough boxes, I'm afraid, which is a shame. It's not a bad song. There's nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't reach that next level that you need to reach to do well in this contest, I feel personally.
Yeah. There are different layers and thoughts that I have about this one. My concern initially, so I did my original reaction video, and Dora this year to me was a decent run, but it wasn't like the best lineup they've had. So when I did my original ranking, I think I put Guilty Pleasure either in 4th or 5th place overall. So I see I liked it, right? But I know this is not probably the song that they want to send to Eurovision, because I thought it's a little bit too radio-friendly. And I'm, again, picking on Germany right now, because Germany picks always these radio-friendly songs, which are nice to listen to on the radio, but will not leave an impact when it comes to a competitive environment. And I'm a little bit worried about this song as well. To be fair, though, I don't want to just say because it's radio-friendly, it's not a good song, because I do find a decent amount of redeeming qualities as well, because it has a little bit... I don't want to compare to Denmark, but it could be the kind of song that often people overlook, and then it is that sweet moment of, oh, I can take a breath with all the craziness that Eurovision, the big, loud, in dramatic ballads or the loud, energetic songs. It's just a sweet song down the line of Love Us Forever Denmark. I'm not comparing the style of the songs, they're different, but it could have that moment like, oh, that was sweet. I really like that one. I want this one to go through. I could see value in that actually. So I'm not completely disregarding or counting out Croatia just yet. At the same time, I agree with everything you said as well. It could be a little underwhelming and be the one that's more like, it's sweet, it's nice, but it's not one people will remember at the end. And somebody finally stopped my headaches, because I've been sitting there yesterday all evening. I'm like, this song, I know this one. I've heard it before. It's Willow from Taylor Swift. There's certain similarities that just kind of got stuck in my head. And that's the one. So thank you, Matt, for fixing me. Matt always finding a chance to diss Germany. I'm mad as hell. So I'm allowed to diss them right now. Because I've been actually, to be fair, only this year, because I was very supportive of Germany last year. Not that it helped, apparently, but that's a different story. So I'm not just picking on Germany, just this year. But it is not a bad song, and I'm not completely counting out Croatia yet. So I want to be reasonable here as well. Is there another song that you really liked?
So there are a few, but what I found in this national final, they really went all out to tick off all of the stereotypes and tropes about
Mm-hmm.
Eurovision. So we had a traditional Balkan ballad, which was Malakasnier. We had My Next Mistake, which sound exactly like Set Me Free by Eden Alen, like basically the same song. You had the typical, girl with guitar sings about how she doesn't like war. No one likes war. It's not original. Get a new idea.
Yeah.
And then you had the random old lady who everyone knows doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning, but is having loads of fun. So we had all these different tropes, which are all ticked off. And then there was
Mm-hmm.
the song I actually liked, which was "Forgive Me" by Mia Negovatic. I thought that was really good, really dramatic ballad. Um, you know, it's sort of I am a simple man, and that appealed to my simple tastes.
Yeah. I actually loved war. No war. I loved war.
I
There's a
love
clip.
war.
There is the clip for out of context videos. No war, it's what it's called. I understand right now in particular, it's like an awkward and uncomfortable topic, anyways. But the song, I was absolutely fascinated. I think I put it initially in my third place or something like that. I don't remember. I really, really liked that one actually, just because it was so like, what is this? And yes, it may have been a little too heavy for Eurovision, but I just really, really had an appreciation for it. Forgive me, I was actually like the really in the studio version live. It just lost a little bit of steam for me, but I still think it was one of the better songs. So honestly, I didn't have like a strong opinion when it comes to Dora and the lineup. So I don't think that they made a terrible decision. And I will say, initially I was kind of like, oh, I'm underwhelmed by this. But then I listened to it again. I'm like, it does put a little bit of a smile on my face. And again, it could go either way. I'm not counting out Croatia completely. I think people are a little bit too harsh when it comes to their chances. And plus, as of right now, things can change. But they are in the first semi, which as of right now, to me, has a little is less strong, I guess. All this it has a lot more chances looking at some of the options there. So I know that Croatia hasn't had the best run, so I am still out of completely out of the equation yet. Potential qualification, maybe I'm telling you, could we have a lovers forever kind of effect? I'm still kind of happy on my radar, Croatia.
I hate that. Sorry, you mentioned it again. I have to do this now. I hate that song.
I know. I remember that you hated it. But the point is, people often like that kind of music, right? Because it is that sweet, like, and it could be the song of the year, Croatia. So I'm just saying, I am waiting for, the full lineup, where it's going to be in the running order, and just the feel when you watch the rehearsals. It often can make a difference. So that's all I'm saying. Any questions about Croatia or thoughts in the chat at ESC United so we can answer them. Connor is saying Moli za nas would have put Croatia in the top 10. I forgot which one that was. Maybe that's not a good sign. Which one was that? Do you remember? Oh, that was the one that came second in the televote. Yes.
Yeah, that's what.
You bored already? All right.
No. I've just seriously. I've been working all day. I while listening to the songs all through the day.
Yeah, that sounds like a you problem. So
yeah, I have a lot of problems, and you are several of them. No, I'm still thinking about how much I dislike Love Is Forever. It's the pointless use of, it's the random burst of French. Gratuitous French is one of my least favorite Eurovision tropes. Either sing in French or don't.
She sang in German too.
Yeah, and that was also annoying.
Also, that was the thing that bothered you the most?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of things bother me. I am an incredibly intolerant and shallow person, but that really bothered me. And also, Liebe ist für alle da is also an album by Rammstein, which is much better.
Oh, really? But just remember, as Green Oscar said, you may have the song about Love is Forever, and everyone. Anyways, back to Croatia. Go ahead. I forgot my train of thought, right?
It was Molly Zanas. We were talking about Molly Zanas.
Yes.
So Molly Zanas, I don't think it would have come top 10, I'm afraid. I wasn't hugely optimistic about any of the songs, really. I think it would have a shot at the final, but I couldn't see it getting much further than that. I just think that the format, the kind of... I think the kind of songs and the kind of quality that's being attracted to Dora is perhaps a little indicative of how they're selecting it or what connections they have in the music industry. I think they could bring a little more than they are at the moment.
Yeah,
but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, it's not just you. I don't think Molinas, it wasn't for me either. I just didn't click with it. I thought it was arrangement-wise and melodically just a little underwhelming. It went right past me, and that's why I had to look up again the list to remember what song that was, and that is not a good sign. Some people liked it, but I actually think Guilty Pleasure to me is a better option because at least it has a sweet melody. But again, that's where it comes down to personal taste. And do you have, just out of curiosity, I'm just a curveball here. Do you have a favorite Croatian song, Gabe, at Eurovision?
I mean,
I'll go first, and if you don't know, I'll give you a second.
Yeah, you go first. I have a couple of ideas.
Okay, well, mine is there's no competition, and I don't think there will ever be a competition. I don't know all the words because I don't speak Croatian, but it's Croatia 1998. Daniela, that song is my favorite of that year, one of my all-time favorites. And if they were to send something down there, I guess we're not in 1998 anymore, so you have to kind of reinvent it. But just in the spirit of that song, I would always love you, Croatia. But go ahead.
Lako je sve. I loved that song.
What year was that?
2010, Feminine.
Oh, Lako, yes.
I remember because it was, I loved that song. It was such like a power ballad. And I was so disappointed it did badly. They deserved better. Europe let them down. And
I agree. It was a qualifier. I wasn't crazy about the staging. It seemed very uptight and disconnected to the song. But the song itself, I thought, was fantastic. So absolutely agree with what you're saying. This should have gone through. And
justice for Feminine.
Justice for Feminine, I know. Oh, man, 12 years later. But anyway, so yeah, that is Croatia. And they made the decision because that's how national finals work. So we've got so much more.
Except in Belarus.
Well, now we started an awkward conversation here. Thanks a lot. But no, seriously. So we have to talk about Slovenia. And yesterday, Slovenia has held the show, has had shows since late November, actually. Let's get back to it. Like, it was crazy. And all the way up until last night. And where everything would be finally decided. We're finally done. Quick before we get to that. So it started back with the EMA Friz, is that who said back in late November, as pointed out. Lots of artists competed in order to secure 4 spots with remaining 16 pre-qualified entries. And then all of that concluded in mid-January with 20 acts selected and to perform in the main show. And then earlier this month in February, 20 acts were separated into 2 semifinals, with 10 of them performing in each. And then with 6 acts qualifying from each semifinal, resulting in the final consisting of 12 acts. They performed, and then a combined jury and televote results would decide the winner. The results would then, the jury was revealed first. Batista Cadillac managed to place on top of the scoreboard, getting 50 points with the juries. And then points where, the rest we'll talk about it in a moment. But in the end, things changed a little when the televotes came in. And in the end, we had a different winner. And it is LPS with Disco. They won it all, and they will now represent Slovenia in Turin with the song, as I said, Disco. They're in the first half of the first semifinal on May 10th. Clearly a long journey ahead of them, because there will be plenty of things to talk about, staging and what they can do. And there were a lot of other acts that are probably disappointed for not winning, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. You cannot always win. Am I right? So let's talk about this. And I feel bad, Gabe. I always let you go first on this one. I'll go first. No, actually, yeah, I'll go first. I already said it. So here's the thing. I did my video as well, my top 10. And one thing was super annoying is several of my friends got copyright strikes on YouTube unfairly, because it's part of what's the term I'm looking for? When you use material on YouTube, but it's part of covering the information.
Fair use.
Fair use. Thank you. I forgot the word. Fair use. And it completely falls under it, and you can come there. But there was one group of the BQL team that just took them all down, right? And really hurt these channels, and was really upsetting to see that. So I didn't even do a reaction video. I just did a top 10 video to avoid from that happening. So I just want to shout out, like, how dare you? It is just unfair that you do that. They actually go manually in and then decide, okay, I want to hurt this channel by giving them a strike, right? So and it was mostly just applied to where they received criticism. So yeah, was not cool. But anyway, so LPS won in the end, and I did my videos pointed out, and LPS was probably my number 7 or 8. And I made comments like, it is a little bit too difficult for me to get into a song that is a disco song called Disco. I just have a major problem with that. I just thought they tried to pick every cliche about that genre and put it into that song. And I know Slovenia always select songs at random. It seems like they just throw darts and then, oh, we hit that one. That's the one we're going to choose. You just never know what they're going to send. And that's how I feel about this. Like, I didn't see that one coming from a mile. Of course, the fan favorite was Luma, All In, and I like that song as well. And I probably would have, not probably, I most certainly would have preferred it. My personal favorite, I knew wasn't going to win Manouche, but I love that song to pieces. So, but I'm glad it didn't do as bad as some people thought it would. So I'm happy about that. July Jones was another popular song, but ultimately I was surprised. I can't get into the Slovenian song, unfortunately, but it's a Slovenian's choice, and you got to respect that. And the guys were clearly very, very happy. I'm worried about Slovenia at Eurovision in terms of qualification, because I just don't think there is a major mass appeal there. So that is unfortunate. But yeah, I'm trying to get into the song, but I have too many issues. The cliche and the trying too hard piece to me, and it's just melodically, and I find the orchestra just a whole not a good production value to me. It sounds very meh to me, and as much as I wanted to root for Slovenia, it's hard for me to get into the song. But you can't like them all, and that's just how it goes. Gabe, what do you have?
So, Matt, I want to paint you a picture. Imagine you have the most incredible buffet laid out in front of you. You know, every kind of fruit and vegetable and meat and fish and chocolate cake and all sorts, all laid out in front of you. And you walk over to the table, and all you pick up is this one slightly soggy red onion that came out of my kebab that I ate for dinner half an hour ago.
And you kept it all the way here just to make a point. That's
Yes,
gross.
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
That is what Slovenia have done.
That's commitment.
This was such a good national final. Why did you do this to us? Luma was right there. Girls Can Do Anything was right there. To be honest, I enjoyed Naked by Leia Liatan, and I actually liked Tu and Stai as well. And they instead went for this. It's like it's like you went to the second-hand store and bought I Can't Believe It's Not Latvia. It's just that, but less polished, more generic. There's all of these things on offer, and they've gone with something so underwhelming. It's just frustrating. If your system is producing these results, then you should change the system because your public has no tastes.
It's funny.
Just pick it internally.
Well, quick, Kenneth makes a funny statement. LPS apparently sent her last pizza slice. It makes sense. They're going to Italy. So it's like the last pizza slice that was left. Do you think then the juries, if it was 100% jury vote, would have you felt better about their choices? Because they didn't pick the ones you chose either. Because their favorite was Batista.
Well, they're wrong as well. Because my opinions are just objectively correct. But
it's science.
Yeah, exactly. They voted on that at the science convention, and that's now approved. No, to be honest, I just don't. I personally think that the system it's getting good songs are getting entered into this competition. They're just not making it through. How many years is it going to be before we see Slovenia send a package to Eurovision that can actually do really well? You know, I think that and somebody's just said in chat that the Slovenia and Croatia should go internal. To be honest, yeah, I agree.
But then look at what happened last year. That was internal, technically, right? So, but it was different because the singer was already chosen. It's a slightly different context there. Yeah, that is true.
Although, actually, to be fair, Voda, if it had been Voda, I thought that was actually very good. That was sailing through to the final, no problem, in my view.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a contender for qualification. I completely agree with that. Everything you said, I basically agree with you. And something's like Slovenia hardly ever picks the favorite, right? The fan favorite. It's like, I'm like flabbergasted. Like, this is the one. It really seems like, I don't know why they gravitated towards that one. Maybe because the youngster crowd voted for it, or really they're popular. You just never, ever know. I just don't get it. So yes, maybe Slovenia should pick internally, but I'm still not certain they would do the right choice either, because when you get the juries, even there, I was kind of questioning their taste there. So I don't know what they can do. I agree, Luma All In probably would have been, but I like Girls Can Do Anything. It was just, I like the sass to that song. And I guess I like that one as well. So I was definitely rooting for those a lot. It was BQL, of course. They've been fan favorites for a long time. They didn't do quite well. Did you like that song at all?
It didn't stick in my mind. It didn't quite. I don't know. I didn't quite get on board with it. I think the problem that you mentioned, I did the one you mentioned. Girls Can Do Anything. And actually, the thing that I think is that basically for years now, broadcasters and the general public have been frantically strangling anything different or unusual or quirky for Eurovision, and making sure and the amount of the contest would be so much better if we had more stuff like that got through, really unique, interesting things. So it's just I am begging people to have a more open mind and to send stuff which is out of the norm. We will get just a much better contest as a result. I'm really mad. I am so mad about this result still.
Yeah, I can see you have a passion. I can feel the passion coming from you. So I hear any questions, by the way, about Slovenia or thoughts at ESC United in the chat. Make sure you tag us so we know. Connor saying Slovenia 2011, 12, and 19 are all my favorites of their years. Everything they've sent, I've hated. They are question to you, Gabe. Do you have a favorite Slovenian song?
So ones that jump into my mind, the first one that comes into my mind is "Here for You" by Mariah, which was catchy. I like
Mhm.
that. Was Maya Kuch was Slovenia, right?
Yeah, that was 2011, right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so No One, I enjoyed that a lot at the time. I was like 14, 15 at that point. And I think I had a crush on her in 2011. I was a confused teenager. But no, I really liked that song. That was really good. So I think 2010, 2011, that kind of era, they started getting things right. And
Mhm.
it's gone wrong since. Follow Nay, someone mentioned in chat. That was loads of fun. I was lucky enough to see that live.
Oh
I
yeah, you were
really
there.
enjoyed it. It was so good.
That was
Uh,
good. Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. And I met
That.
her brother like just after she'd performed. I bumped into
Mhm.
her in the bar at the arena, and he was like absolutely brimming with pride. It was adorable.
Oh, that was the semi show you referring to, and then when you qualified.
Yeah.
Okay, then I could only imagine that must have been super exciting. The best result I think for Slovenia was in 2001 Energy, and I think that's probably still my favorite to this day, even though lyrically is a little bothering me the wrong way. But I love the singer, I love the energy behind the song, for the lack of a better word. And the dueling pianos always works for me. So I think that is still my favorite, but 2011 and 15 are close behind there. So far, Slovenia has never been high up in my ranking. Actually, 2015 initially it was. But other than that, something has to change. But somebody also pointed in the chat, the last time, not counting last year, they chose internally was 2013. Hannah, straight into life, I think, and that didn't do well either. Didn't they come last even in the semis? I can't remember. So I don't know what Slovenia can do. They just, maybe it's a new team in place, or I don't know. But if that's what the people want to send, you cannot get mad at it either, because people just like that song. And so there is to it. But then they just have to kind of live with the consequences, I guess. And that's
I can and will get mad at it though.
okay. You have a right to do that, I guess.
I'm
Yeah.
really mad.
You really like that song. Well, I'm glad, because I missed the national final, and I just went like, oh, let me just check the results real quick. I'm like, oh, like I looked at this wrong. Like, no, I'm looking at this right. So I was just like, whoa.
I mean, it's sort of, and it's like, I mean, you get this sometimes where countries clearly pick the wrong songs.
Yeah.
So basically, the one I can think of is the biggest one, Metana, not getting picked by Albania in 2020 because a single jury member firebombed it on
Oh yes.
purpose.
Yes.
Like that
Yeah.
kind
Then
of.
you can blame Albania's system, but
Hmm.
they don't even have televote anymore. They had televote once, as a jury member or something like that, but the televoters have virtually no say in this anyway. So
Hmm.
it is a very weird situation. But yeah, it is. It is what it is, I guess. So we have to wait and see. But at this point, I mean, Slovenia is in the first semifinal. What are your chances, percentage-wise, do you think they have a chance of qualifying? Could it be still some
Zero.
odds here? Zero, you think? It's
Zero. No chance.
it's going to be a very long road ahead of them. I would agree. I will never say zero, but I will, because there are songs where I thought it was zero, and then there they are. So I'll give them 2%.
That's very generous. 2.
All right. Well, anyways, we got to move on. We are going to talk about the next country on our list, and because this was country number 4, and we got at least 2 more shows to cover. And next one is, of course, the tiny, cute little nation called San Marino. They have chosen the Eurovision artist as well. Familiar tattooed face, and the final round of Una Voce per San Marino. 9 remaining acts, emerging acts, joined the 9 previously announced established artists. And they fought it between a David and Goliath kind of setup, but we did have a winner in the end. And it was a very long show, and they certainly made Sanremo, gave run for the money there for sure. But ultimately, we have a winner. Do you know how to pronounce the name properly, Gabe?
I think it's Una Voce per San Marino.
Yeah, but do you know how to pronounce the name of the artist that won?
It's like Achille Lauro or something. but
Yes,
I don't want to put
exactly.
on a silly accent to do it. So I'm just going to be like,
Yeah, me
okay,
neither.
Laura.
Yeah. So my apologies if we offended anybody, but that's just how it goes. But yeah, so he won with the song Stripper. And as pointed out, he is already a familiar face to a lot of fans, certainly in Italy, as he has taken part, I think, 3 times now in the San Remo Festival. And since that didn't work out, he's like, let me go to San Marino. And guess what? It did work out. And he won it all and now gets to go to Turin. And of course, as true Eurovision fans, you just have to love San Marino regardless of their song, right? So we always have love and appreciation for this little underdog. Although they've not qualified twice in a row, some other countries can say the same. But Gabe, what are your thoughts?
So I have to say that this is one of my favorite national finals in a long time. It gives us
Really?
everything: the overblown, ridiculously long final, the bizarre open audition style semis, which were just so odd. There was so many weird things happening. I was sitting there watching the emerging artists like early round and thinking, is this a fever dream? Like, is this real? Am I actually like, is this an actually things that are unfolding? Because some of them were so bad, it filled the hole in my heart that was left by the loss of the Belarusian open auditions.
Mm-hmm. Really,
And
it was like that? Wow.
because those, it was that specific brand of chaos. The thing is, they then combined that actually with a really quite nicely put together show, a really professional job, a format that they're renewing for 2023 as well. So that they're bringing it back. And it was just really well done, the whole process. And I want to say for San Marino, RTV are showing how it's done as a micronation on how to be creative and find a way to do a lot of the things that other countries do. Um, yes, at least I got to experience tiramisu and electroshock. Yes, it was incredible. The whole thing, bizarre stuff was happening, and it was and they ended up with a great winner. It's a great song with a really unique and like distinctive image for the artist, and I think it's going to do very well. I think it's a set qualifier easily, and probably San Marino's best results.
Wow, that is a very strong statement here. I mean, I didn't watch the show because I was like, no. Mm. It's just I think I told the story before because I never watched the whole Sun Rainbow before the whole show. I think I told you a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to do it this year, and I'm going to put 3.5 hours aside." Yeah, I'm a trooper. I'm ready. Bring it on. And then and people laughed at me, and I was like, "Oh shoot." So I'm like, I'm not even going to put myself in a situation here in San Marino. So I need to say I didn't watch the show, but I did watch. I think it is the law, if you want to be a Eurovision fan, to watch Valentina and Senhei perform together, the two queens of San Marino. You have to. It's a legal requirement, of course. But I did watch the song. I did my reaction video yesterday, and first of all the Italians are still at my case for it because I was not. And still not like crazy about the Italian song, Måneskin song, right? Although I will say I love the band, and when they were on Saturday Night Live in the US, their songs were amazing. I know one's a cover song, but I love them as artists very much. But the song itself, I was never a fan of. It's just a genre, just rubs me the wrong way. So I can't say the song itself wins me over because it's not something I would listen to, but there is a big caveat there. There's something about him that I need to pay attention. He's a showman. Like he draws your attention and it makes it fun. And there are really cool moments that I at least get engaged and was like, yay. And then like the backgrounds are almost like you can shout along to. There are really cool parts that a non-lover of the genre, I guess, can access. And that is very powerful. So usually I would say, like, I don't know if this song really has good, I don't know about this chances, but I do know that there is an audience and market for it. And having someone like you, Gabe, in particular, point out, well, this is a sure qualifier. Like, what are you even talking about, man? I'm like, makes me even more like, okay, Okay. People clearly gravitate towards that one. So I don't think I would, again, listen to this one in the studio version a whole lot. Granted, the sound quality wasn't the greatest because, Micronation, their budget is like $15. So it is very, I'm withholding final judgment on that as well. So it's not a song that I would probably listen to in the studio version, but with a great performer like that and the great vibe and energy, they could win me over, like kind of like what Måneskin did. Again, I don't want to just always draw a comparison. It's not fair either because it's a different song, but it's the closest I can think of in terms of genre that kind of relate. And so I am pleasantly surprised how much I like the song, considering I don't like it's the genre for itself is a no for me. Is there another song that, if this wouldn't have been the winner, Gabe, from what you seen, is there anything else you said, okay, I would have been cool with that as well?
Um,
I'll
I
take
have
that
to
as a no.
say, I mean, they're getting there. They are really. This year was a massive step forward, but I think there were some quality issues with some of the songs. I quite enjoyed "Sweet Denial" and "Heartless Game," but they were both Bond themes. And I'm a slut for Bond themes, so that was just kind of like me, with my usual, oh look, he's easily impressed by some dramatic strings and a trumpet.
That's me though. I like horns.
Yeah.
And a tuba, like boom, boom, I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I get it.
Mhm.
One question Sal brought up is, this was 100% jury vote. Do you think they should bring in a public vote next year as well? Obviously, you cannot really have a public vote just in San Marino. Again, 2.5 people there, but you could have an online vote. They do something like similar in other countries, kind of like what Czech Republic is doing. Do you think that would
Mhm.
be a good idea?
I think that's a really good way to get the fans involved at large. I think San Marino understands that there's a tiny audience in San Marino. It wouldn't surprise me if more people watched Una Voce per San Marino, not in San Marino, than actually watched it. So if I was them, I would go all in on becoming the darlings of the fandom. I'm talking, host the show in English as well as Italian, online votes for and then the fans can all vote. That is where the money is. That is how they're going to succeed. So I think, and they can lock themselves as a fan favorite every year by absolutely integrating themselves with this community. So I think going forward, I would love it if they did that. That would be such a cool thing. And it would almost feel like, I think if they did that, it would feel like the fandom has its own Eurovision entry every year.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got like San Marino. Oh, that we helped do that. That's our entry. I think they're the only nation that can do that, and I think it's really important that they do. It'll make them a lot of money as well because they can get people buying merch. They can do all these things. So that's my personal thought on that. Go
Yeah.
all in. Why stop
Yeah.
at just online voting?
I think that, yeah, I mean, San Marino, they thrive off of like tourism, exposure, that kind of stuff. So it's a great opportunity. It's a fantastic platform. So everything you just suggested, yeah, copy paste what you just said. I think the more, I mean, now there's probably budgetary limitations what they can do, I'm sure, but it is definitely something. I think what they're doing right now is a great idea. Not that I had any issues with their internal selection, because some of them were like WTF entries, right? But we loved them for it. There's something about, I'm like, yes, they're talking about you want to have cybersex again in the national finals and give us epic meme and GIF moments like, no. You know what I'm talking about, right? So you just get this. And that's what San Marino is so good at. And I don't want them to change there either. So that is, yeah, I agree with that as well. Any other questions about San Marino or the act at ESC United in the chat real quick before we move on? And one shame is, Gabe, that they would have had guaranteed 24 points if Italy voted in that semi, but then semi won, huh?
I think they'll be all right. I think they'll qualify for the final anyway, and then they'll get those points from Italy. I don't know if other neighboring countries, so I don't know if Switzerland are voting in their semi, maybe Slovenia, Albania, Malta.
I don't know how to tell you this, but Switzerland does not border San Marino.
No, but I'm talking about
I'm being a dick. I get it. I just want to be the smartass. Like, I know better. The American who knows geography better than the European. I know what you mean.
But like, I'm talking about like, countries
Yeah.
where Italian music has a record of being successful. So maybe Spain, Portugal, France to a degree. There's countries in there that will respond to this, and I think more generally, I think we'll see it being successful. I think it'll go down well. It's the sort of thing that would go down well in the UK and Ireland.
Switzerland is
I
in
think
semi
as well.
one.
Look, some of them. I have listed like 10 countries. Some of them must vote in this semi. Like
no, they're all in semi one. It's just San Marino and Serbia. No.
Oh god, but no, they're going to be fine anyway. They'll get through. Doesn't matter who you throw in that semi. They'll get through, and then they'll have a good one in the final. The way the pops work, it means they'll have some friends somewhere who'll give them some votes.
Yeah, I think so too. And the artist is popular in Italy. That's going to be a loud and energetic performance. Like people will go crazy in the arena, and that will translate on camera as well, I'm pretty sure. So we have to wait and see. But San Marino is no longer just like that little like random country that is sending like, songs with robots holding signs. They're actually taking this very seriously now. The Ralph Siegel days are gone.
I will. All that said, I will defend who we are to my grave.
That's the hill you want to die on?
Yes, it is. It's me, Jenny B, and what you get is what you see. So you better listen carefully. Don't be mad. Don't be bitter. What they say on Twitter. I'll stop now.
So we're out of time. You got to move on. But no, so it is, San Marino, we're so happy that you are doing what you're doing. Don't change. But we got another one because another national final returned to us. And the last time we saw it in Malta in 2018. But since then, they opted for the X Factor thing, where the winner of X Factor would then choose a song internally. We had Michaela and then Destiny. And now they're going back to the actual semifinal system. Just before the new year, it was announced that 20 songs were picked to fight for the Maltese ticket to Turin. But only 17 of those participated last night because 5 of them were eliminated in a semifinal round, which is random. 5 songs? Why bother? Anyway, it's a different story. But we did have this long show. They're always very long in Malta as well. They had a wildcard winner, Jessica Muscat, who was added as the last act to the lineup. And then we got the results. It was decided again by a jury and a televote, but the televote had a much smaller sway in this one. Ultimately, we did have a 2-act battle between Aiden and Emma Muscat, and ultimately the decision was made. And the decision was that the winner of this national final would be Emma Muscat. The name of the song is Out of Sight, and she is going to Turin for Malta. She will be in the first half of the second semifinal, and she won the jury vote and the televote. Again, the televote only had a smaller way than the juries, but since she won both groups, it is obvious and evident that she is the choice by Malta for Eurovision. So we got to talk about the song. Gabe, penny for your thought.
I'm sorry, Malta, but I'm just worried it's.
Oh gosh, when you start a sentence with "I'm sorry," that's never a good way. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's really not. It's a good song, and she's got a great voice, and I enjoy it. But I just think this happens with ballads every year. Some of them get lost, and some of them get buried, and I think this is in danger of that. Now, whether that means placing very low in the final or not making the final, I don't know. But I'm certainly not, given what we were talking about for Malta last year with Destiny.
Yeah.
I think this is a very different equation for them this year. I think they're going to struggle to make the final. And if they do, it's not going to be a high placement.
Yeah, you did say that, this may get lost in the show. In order to get lost, you need to have had it in the first place. And I don't even think we could go down that route. I was just like, it's like, I'm getting these flashbacks from like 2017 Claudia Faniello Breathlessly, and I thought that one was a stronger entry to me, actually. I really have nothing to hold on to, and I feel bad. And I talked to several Maltese fans, and most of them were just very disappointed with the whole lineup to begin with. So I only listened also to the top two because I didn't have time to watch the whole thing. But it's yeah, she looks nice. She has a very beautiful voice, but everything about the staging, about the melody, there is virtually nothing. Maybe though, there is something with the juries there because again, Claudia Faniello, I'm keep using that one because the close I can think of. She finished like what in 7th place with the juries. Granted, she got 0 points from the televoter, so that wasn't even enough. But maybe something like this could happen because there is something that Malta does really well with the juries. When it doesn't click, like it's one of those countries. It's like the anti-Poland, right? It's like it does well with the juries, but then completely flops with the televote. And I still don't think it's going to be enough, even with jury support. Granted, all of the competition. I just could see that, especially in the second half, that they're going to put it in the second spot and just give that like the sacrificial lamb because there's not going to be a whole lot of hype around it, a lot of interest, or it's going to be the one that is being put between two very popular songs, as the break. It's just that kind of song that screams it at me. So, yeah, unfortunately, I wish I could be more positive, but I was just like, it is out of sight and out of the grand final. I'm at this point for Malta, which is unfortunate. And that takes us to the question, did Malta make the wrong choice going back to a national final, Gabe? Should they stuck to what they've had before with picking an artist and then pick the song? Or you think this is still better?
This, I have to say, it was completely devoid of logic from Malta. They had, in the last few years, picked amazing entries. Like, they had got it dead right every time. I think most of us agree that Chameleon underperformed and was a great entry, did really well. Destiny, I don't think I need to say much more. She was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And her song from 2020 may have done even better than her song in 2021 did. It depends. I guess I can see the little there. It's a different style of song, but it still would have gone. Yeah,
okay,
you did. Sorry. You made a face. See, you're doing it without even noticing now.
No, but okay.
Never used to do that to me. But no, so like my point is like they had this really good formula going on with whatever they were doing internally, and they've thrown it all out. And I don't know whether there was some kind of deal they had with record labels that has expired, or a contract has changed, or what. But it's just you got into this really good place, and then you said, actually, no, we're going to tear up this book of things that work and replace it with a massive risk. And national finals, especially when you have a voting audience that small, are a huge risk. And it didn't work out. For my part, I think Look What You've Done Now by Mariana Conte should have won. That was my favorite. It was super catchy and the beat went really hard. I don't know whether that's a particularly popular opinion, but it's such a shame. You don't need to, if you're doing something this well, you don't need to, do a big fancy national final for the sake of it in this way.
Yeah, no, I don't think I can add much more. I listened to the runner-up as well, which would it be at the top of my list? No, but at least it was a little bit more entertaining and fun. And it would have been in Maltese, right? Unless he would have decided to change the lyrics at the very last minute. It was at least a lot more entertaining and interesting. I think it would have been a much better choice, in my view. So yeah, I wanted to say something else, and now it escaped me. But it's just so bland, and I don't know what else to say. I want to root for Malta. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. This is what I was being told by Maltese, my sources. Again, this is just me reporting. I'm not stating that as fact. But they're saying that a lot of the songwriters in Malta were very, very upset with the way things were done in Malta for the past couple of years because they're being ignored for like the bigger names and not getting all these Swedish songwriters they want to have a platform. So there was a lot of pressure on the broadcaster to bring back the national final. And honestly, Destiny's song was one of my favorites last year, and it was a fantastic song. I still would have preferred for her to go for a national final, and I prefer a national final over something. I always would pick a national final over sending something good on, because it gives people the decision to send something. Even if we don't agree with that decision, at least we can say the people made that decision. There's always a little bit more of a connection when you say we chose that song for Eurovision. So I always will side with a national final, even if you have a great track record, as of like for instance, the Netherlands, right, picking songs. So I still would always side with the national final. And I think especially with Malta, where you have such an it's not quite as small as San Marino, but it's still a very small country. They don't have much exposure with the music scene or whatever. This is their platform to showcase their talent. So if we take that away from them as well now, it kind of sucks. So I understand that as well. Any questions about Malta in the chat at ESC United? Jelly says, I think Aiden was a much better choice. Emma Muscat is one of the biggest artists from Malta. I think they chose her because of her and not the song. Do you think there's some legitimacy to that?
I mean, people's reputation does always, precede them. I think if you think about, like, if a massive artist from the UK entered a UK national final, they would win with whatever it was they put in. Like, it would render the whole thing irrelevant. And I think if she is really big in Malta, then it's probably the same effect here. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I think the fame effect is huge when it comes to national finals.
Yeah. Eurofan SF saying, Matt and Gabe, be prepared to eat some crow in May. Emma song is an earworm. Oh my God, that is so exciting. So she's changing it? That I'm so happy to hear that she's going to have an earworm actually at Eurovision. Yay! So I'm looking forward to her new entry, kind of like what Ira Lasko has done.
Very good. No, I'm proud of you for that one. That was great.
Thank you. Seriously though, I mean, you may be right. You never know. I have learned. We all saw our jaws drop when Say Na 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 went to the finals. So you never know what's going to happen. And as I pointed out at the very beginning, breathlessly finished 7th with the televoters. With the juries. Or 6. But you need to get the televoters on your side to make it a little further. And I just don't see that song actually, go too far. But I'm the kind of person, I think Gabe will. Actually, no, I shouldn't speak for Gabe. I could never ever root against a song, even if I don't like it. If people like it, then it goes through. And then I was like, I don't get it. I don't like Slovenia, Malta goes through. I'm like, that's a surprise to me. But I would never ever be like, this is BS and da 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 da. I'm like, no, that's just what people or juries decided, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. And this is something that I've definitely been guilty of in the past, which is something I try not to do now, rooting against, because there's a few things. What you, I think, learn the more time you spend around the contest. And I think, Matt, especially for you having interviewed artists and met artists every year, and you get to know these people on a human level as well, so you probably feel this even stronger than I do.
Yeah,
you have they're just people doing their best, doing what they love to do, and trying to make giving it everything, and they care what people think of them, and they have feelings and get insecure about what the rest of the world thinks of them, just like we do. And the way people go on Twitter sometimes, it's just not right. And it's one thing being critical of a song. It's one thing saying that perhaps something isn't your cup of tea, or you don't like it or whatever. But the way some elements, and I said this in a much angrier way last year about some unprofessional people in the press center, the way some elements of this fandom treat the artists almost as if they're objects or trading cards or something that you can tear up and burn when you decide you don't like them.
I love that, what you're saying there.
It's really sad, and I think we should all watch how we behave. And I think we have to treat people with the respect that they deserve, even if we don't like the song that they're bringing, even if we wanted a different song to get through.
Yeah. And even when I pick on a song, first of all, it's really not the artist because, that's what, you need to be a little bit more fun and entertaining, but it's never against the artist. And I remember in 2019, you remember in Romania, the controversial national final about the outcome, all the favorites, and then this random song was chosen and all that stuff. And Issa Peony, I interviewed her on the red carpet or green carpet or orange carpet. I don't remember what color they decided that year, but whatever color it was, I talked to her and she was so happy to be there, but she always implied she knows there's so much pressure and she just wanted to represent, make her country proud. And I felt my heart was going out to her because you could tell that she felt that there was something so much going on, knowing the circumstances. And I felt so bad. And that's what I always remember. These artists are there to represent their music and their country and their art, their craft. And for us to always just pick on them is not fair. So when I criticize the song, it's not the artist. Or certainly, even if I don't care for a voice or an artist as a whole, it should never become this personal thing. And I think people know when you use common sense, although I call it uncommon sense in this day and age, but if you apply common sense, you know what I'm talking about. There is a line that we all know. Criticism when you're a public figure or music, it comes with the territory. We all understand that. But there is a line. They're still human beings, and they're going in there doing the best they can. And be mad at the organizers, be mad at the broadcaster, but don't be mad at the artists themselves for trying to put forward a song that they believe is good, and then for whatever reason ends up representing the country. You can't criticize everything else around it. That's just my personal opinion about that.
Yeah, I will say the exceptions to this do exist in the sense of obviously some
It's
people
Germany,
are bad
but
people.
I get it. No, I'm kidding.
And but I'm talking about, and I won't say his name because I don't consider him a Eurovision artist, and neither should anyone else. The fact that I think it's, and we won't go too far into it, but I think it's absolutely right, and in fact, I would say it's our duty to make it clear that convicted sexual abusers, for example, are not welcome as Eurovision entrants. And the fact that could
I don't know what you're
happen in this
talking
day and
about right
age.
now, so I agree, but I don't know.
I'll tell you after the stream.
Okay.
It's it's sort of it's public, but I don't want to keep but bad people have good lawyers, so I won't say it on here. I don't want to. Sorry, I'm derailing this. We're going off in a on a bit of a tangent. But yeah, like it's just and the way that people, people the things that people were saying about Destiny last year were just disgusting, and I get angry still thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I will tweet it once I'm off here, because if it's on my account on Twitter, then I can deal with it. But when I'm on here, like it's ESC United, and that is, so I won't say the name on here.
Okay.
But like what people were saying about Destiny last year was gross. It was so gross, and like that's the kind of thing we have to make this contest as positive for the artists as it is for us, because it's such an amazing thing that we have all built together, and it's important that the artists are included in that too. Yeah. And if we're lobbing eggs at them, then they're not going to enjoy themselves.
Completely agree. And people pointing out, use our example here about, Spanish people with Chanel. I know Chanel got so much backlash, and I was very disturbed by it. And she deleted, was it her Twitter account, some social media account, because of all the stuff that was happening. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Go to the broadcaster and say, it was say like a few amount of people have too much power in a national final when the favorite got 77 points, and then the second favorite got 19%, and then Chanel got taken only 3 to 4% from the televote. I understand the anger behind the selection process, but that is not the artist's fault. So I completely agree with that. So that's where we leave it at. We still, of course, not that, I wish the artist Emma the best of luck. It's not my kind of song, and I'm worried about Malta because I think both Gabe and I were very clear, like we want Malta to succeed because this is such a great platform for them, and they should take advantage of it. I will defend the national final, but somebody said, and I forget, I meant to ask that actually before I move on, is about, do you think it makes sense to combine, gosh, who posted that? Oh, yeah, Saul. Do you think Malta should use X Factor Malta, but incorporate the song selection into X Factor, kind of like what Israel did? Do you think that would be a decent setup, maybe, to still keep that going, or you think that wouldn't work in Malta?
I wouldn't mind it if they chose the artist. I think that the best system would be to choose the artist through the show, and then deal with the song after. Because then you can find a voice that you really want, and then add in the and then work on making a song that fits afterwards.
Yeah,
that would be the best system if they want to keep a national final, in my opinion, for Malta.
Sabrina just called me out. Matt, you just want to go to Malta. I'm like, guilty as charged. I'm desperate to go to Malta. I actually had a cruise planned for 2020 to go to Malta. I'm like, well, you know what happened, why I couldn't go. And that's why I'm so mad. Like, Croatia, I want to go to Croatia. Why are you messing this up with the song? So, go make it happen. Iceland, I hope you have a good song. Make it happen. There's so many countries I haven't seen yet. And so because when you do Eurovision for all these years, you kind of stop rooting for the song, but the country you really want to go to that you haven't seen in a while and that you can afford. That's why I was so upset when Turin won. Turin hosted. So go Poland. So that is my answer. So that is what we have. Good luck, Malta. Let's just talk real quick about Sweden. We had a third heat in Melodifestivalen. 2 songs moved on. Again, how it works in Sweden, you have 7 songs in the running, and then the people vote. 1 song will go through automatically, and then the remaining 6 songs would then face another round of voting, and the first place there will also go directly to the finals, and then 2 songs will move on to the actual, they call it now the semifinal, which used to be called Andra Chansen, and I have a few thoughts about that in just a moment. But the act that first went through right away, winning the semifinal, the night, is Anders Bagge with Bigger Than the Universe. So he didn't even have to face the second round of voting. Once that came in, now we had the second direct qualifier. It was a nail biter, and it was Faith Kakembo with Freedom. She also is going right through. She took part a couple of years in Melodifestivalen with not Chasing Rivers, Crying Rivers, right? So now she actually made it, and then second chance round or semifinal, whatever you want to call it. Lisa Miskovsky with Best to Come, as well as Kasi Opaya, I Can't Get Enough. And that means Lancelot with, I never know how to pronounce it. I call it Licking Slut, but it's probably, it sounds so wrong. It's probably called Slut. Yeah, I know. Gabe, don't do this to me. Try Friday, Shadi, and Linda Bengtsson.
Sorry. Keep
going. Okay, I'll let you laugh. So anyway, they are unfortunately out, so they will not have a second chance route. So now we somehow after this still have to talk about the results and our thoughts. So do you need a second? Should I go first, Gabe, or you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so let's go through the first semi-finalist. Not finalist, direct finalist. Anders Bagge, Bigger Than Universe. Surprise, expected. What are your thoughts?
I think if a month ago, when they revealed all the artists and so on, if you'd said in 3 weeks it's going to be a straight fight for the win between Cornelia Jacobs and Anders Bagge, everyone would have looked at you like you were mad. But that's where we are, because Anders Bagge was easily the best in this semi. It wasn't close. I listened through, and there was one other song which I really liked, but I don't think anyone came close. It's no surprise at all to me that he went direct to the final. I think that I'm really happy for him, and I watched some interviews with him as well, and it's clear how much it has taken to even get on that stage. And it's the first time he's ever done it. And like he's just got this great voice, this really good song. the lyrics, okay, the lyrics are a bit, cliche, a bit corny. But it's just I can't help but root for him. And I think I'm really happy it qualified. It's so deserved. So deserved.
I actually did my top 7 video before the show just based on the rehearsal clips and the snippet from the studio version, and I had that as my number 1 as well. There is something about it. Yes, although it's a little cliche, absolutely, but the song has this very grand, gives me goosebumps kind of moment, and it's not just a song. Like, he sings it so well, and it's hard to believe that he has such large stage fright, considering his voice is. I want to just crawl into his body, rip out his vocal cords, and keep them for myself because they're just so good. I know I'm creepy like that, so I just want them. So it's such a beautiful voice, and I find it. I call it the Olsen Brothers effect with him because it's often overlooked by the Eurovision bubble. Like, it's just it's old fashioned. Like, there is a market for it. People will find him so charming. There is some kind of genuine likability about him that he will win over the hearts, because sometimes he almost looks distracted, like he moved his mouth and not singing to the microphone. He looks away, but it never becomes off-putting. It becomes just a genuine moment. And I do find it very charming. And I point out before, the song gives me a little bit of Spain 2000 of Canada Conmigo, which, I love that song. So I get a little bit vibes of that. And just,
I love that song.
Yeah, me too. And it's not the same. It's not copycat. I'm just saying that it has some elements of it in that song. And and then when he switches it up with his vocals, like when he sings the second verse, he not just sings the melody, he goes like all out. It's just so beautifully done, and it builds and it builds, and it just a story. Like, it's beautiful. Like, he has no staging; he just has the backdrop, right? And that's about it. And it just works. And I am stoked that he is through. And I don't know what the Juice will do with this one in the finals, but this will be at a bare minimum in the top 3 in the televote in Melody Festival and finals. Mark my words. I would not be shocked. I don't know the competition yet in Semi 4. I wouldn't be shocked if this ends up winning even. I'm not saying it will, but I could see this one like, what? And I would be like, yes. So, and it's just something different that Sweden would send. Call it cliche, call it whatever you want, but it would be something I would be so happy. And someone said, it's piercing my soul. Yes, it's someone you get impaled. Like, it just like almost hurts. So it's just so wonderful. And I want to have that moment. So I would love it. But it wasn't the only song that went through. Then Faith Kakembo with Freedom also made it through to the finals directly after the second round of voting. Again, it was a nail biter. What do you think, Gabe?
I listened to this and didn't really grab me, to be honest. Yeah, I didn't personally, I didn't get it. I just don't think I found it a bit forgettable personally. I don't think it was a particularly strong semi overall. Which is why I think, other than Anders, things, weird things started happening. And one of the in most semis in most years, I wouldn't have this as direct to final. So I think it's not going to do well in the final. I think it'll not pull up any trees. I mean, it's a nice song, but very forgettable. Very forgettable.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. When I did my initial video, I did have it like, I think, again, that was all based on the snippets and the video clips, as a second chance semifinal candidate. And after performance, I actually dropped out of it as well, because I thought, I'm going to bring this up here, by the way, I'm going to, the results of the second round of voting. I thought she was vocally not quite there, and melodically it didn't stick with me as much as I thought it would be. And we contacted also SVT and Aftonbladet as well, because the last set of votes that they announced was 16-29, and if it wasn't for that particular set of votes, probably Best to Come would have been a direct qualifier. But they only got 1 point from that group. But when you look at the consistency, what points they received, they got 1 point from that random group, but high points from everybody else, and then Shut Me Up, who came last with every group, but got almost basically the second highest score with that group. It just seems something very off. SVT said, yeah, no, this is correct.
Weird.
Yeah, and the SVT did not elaborate, saying, no, we can confirm this is correct. And I call it BS. I call BS on it. I have no proof, but I'm like, give us the exact breakdown of the points, because this seems very odd to me. And I just wanted to bring attention to that. It kind of made me like, So, because that would have been a different outcome. I still think they want to save face, in my view, but I don't have any evidence of that either, because, I'm not in a system. So I was not crazy about that song either, and it kind of lost me there. But there's something very likable of Faith, so I'm happy for her, of course. But the song, I think, would kind of get lost in the lineup. I don't think it's going to go far in the finals. At least in my view. Now let's talk about the two second chance songs, which are Cassiopeia, I Can't Get Enough, and Lisa Miskovsky, Best to Come, which again, I think should have gone through directly, but your thoughts, Gabe, on those two?
So I thought Best to Come was a bit forgettable as well.
Yeah.
It didn't really do anything for me. I didn't dislike it. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't light up my world. I Can't Get Enough. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was super catchy. I love like the color palette that they were using for it. Color palette, sorry. I completely mispronounced that word. I thought it looked visually, it was really striking. And they had I thought they had this really cool style going on. And then and the song was catchy. And I actually thought when I first listened to the snippets, I thought that was going to be the second auto qualifier. And Cassiopeia has actually worked with a whole bunch of significant K-pop groups and is it quite well respected and known in the K-pop world. So I hope that she makes it through to the final. I think with a decent draw in the semi-final, I will definitely be hearing that song again because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, I echo your appreciation for I Can't Get Enough. It was my direct qualifier. When it was it was bigger than the universe and I Can't Get Enough. And I was saying, I really like this semi. It's better than some of the other semis we had in Melody Festival. And there was a lot of negative towards from the Eurovision fans, again, towards Melody Festival, which sometimes is unjustified. I agree with some of the predictability that Melody Festival does and the frequent lack of diversity. But I thought this was songs with a strong lineup here, and I loved I Can't Get Enough. And after the performance, I loved it even more. Some people say about the outfits and all that stuff. I'm like, small thing, I don't care. But it gave me a little bit the Marino the Diamonds vibe, but then I felt like Katy Perry came in there as well. It just seemed something so fun and enjoyable and entertaining, and I need that one to go through. I thought this would be even a great winner. I know at this point, not even barely making second chance round was enough. I'm worried, but I do think that this has so much quality. I did like Best to Come, actually, my original ranking. It's a little bit too uneventful, but I do like it, and it grew on me a lot. So I preferred this one over Freedom for sure, and I would have hope that one to go through directly. I'm pretty sure it will now in the second round in the semifinal. Andra Chansen, which, by the way, I just want to say, stop calling it. I don't know why they now want to call it second chance round. It's still recycled songs. It's still second chance. Just because you change the setup of it and you've changed in the past, you didn't change names. Now all of a sudden you have to call it a semifinal. What are these things? These are our semifinals. So I always find it so silly. So I'll keep calling it Andra Chansen because I'm a rebel. Correct. So, but I'm living on the edge. But my point is that is how so if it would have been up to me, Anders and Kasi would have been the direct qualifiers, and Lisa would have been a second chance, along with, and everyone hold on to your butts, because I would have put Linda Bengtzing through that hot mess of a performance. She, they're like, what do you want to put on stage? You want fun dresses, fireworks, dancers? And she said yes to all. And that is exactly what she has done. She went so far over the top, and I just couldn't get enough of it. I just loved it. And maybe for the wrong reasons, but I was a sucker for it, and I need that kind of craziness. So those would have been my choices. So Gabe, what have you direct qualifiers into Anders Chansen? Second,
Anders and Cassiopeia direct.
So we agree on that.
Yeah, and then I would have sent Linda through as well. into
Really?
Anders Hansen. Yeah, because it was just all very silly. I enjoyed it very
Yeah.
much. And then Faith. I
You
think
was, yeah.
those would, yeah, Faith would be the last one, sneaking in just. And so those would be my four. Not a hugely strong semi in my view. I think one thing is very clear for me still, which is that Cornelia Jacobs is still the favorite.
So let's talk
Right
about
now,
that.
I've not seen anything that can beat it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, because everyone is talking about in the chat while we were talking about, they didn't care what we had to say about this semi. They were all just talking about Cornelia. So you think this is still the one to beat?
Yes. I think, it's, I actually listened through earlier today again to a bunch of the semi 1 and 2 performances and then to these songs. Nothing is close to it. Nothing is as memorable. No performance is as intimate. And like, you got to remember, it's like there was still rough around the edges stuff that she could fix up before the final performance for Cornelia. And it was already just so much, so far above the other songs. And I looked at some, and then I've listened to some of the other qualifiers, and I'm like, okay, not that bothered, really. I like Liamo, and I really like Anders Bagger, so the semi winners. But other than that, I think it's not that strong a year, and I think Hold Me Closer stands head and shoulders above.
Yeah. Hold Me Closer actually, yeah, is currently at 36% chance of winning if you believe the betting odds, followed by Anders Bagge now, 23%, but he's catching up now, so he's still climbing. That may look different in a couple of days. Initially, Clara Hammarström was the favorite because she is the last one to perform in semifinal 2, which is usually reserved for the producer's favorite slot. So we'll have to see how she's going to come into that. And there's some other candidates that still potentially. Angelino, the end, apparently is still something to look out for. But for now, this is what it looks like. Yes, I mean, I thought that Cornelia won the semifinal, obviously, and rightfully so, a fantastic performance. When it comes to personal taste, actually, I preferred 2 songs from this semi because I loved Anders Bagge so much. I preferred personally, my personal taste, over Cornelia, as well as actually Kasi Opaya. I can get enough. Those are my 2 favorites, actually, because I guess I just jiving more with the melodic progression on those and the fun factor. But Cornelia is definitely a candidate. I totally get it why people love it, and it's something that again, it's just people didn't even think about her, right? Talking about her, and now she's like the favorites. So it is actually something on my radar. And I think at this point she's probably the one to beat. I completely agree with that. I still say don't count out Anders Bagge. He has, from what I learned, a huge fan base in Sweden. He has been a mentor, a judge on shows. He's been songwriting. He's just so likable. I could see him winning the televote, actually. But the juries could kind of put a stop to his win potentially. I still think that it is not set in stone, but Kenneth brings up a good point. Melfest odds are usually accurate and predicting the top 2. Yeah, they're very predictable, actually, right? But not yesterday. Lance was second in the odds and still got eliminated. I was surprised that he was so high in the betting odds, actually, because I don't think that it was the kind of song that would really justify such a hype. I wonder if it was just somebody with a lot of money feeling very confident. I don't know. But yeah, that was surprising. But even in the finals, usually the betting odds favorite in the Melfest final ends up winning for the most part. But sometimes it has been close. Remember 2014? Ace Wilder and Sanna Nielsen? That was close. Or 2020, the mamas and daughter. You're on mute.
Losing daughter like that was traumatic. I'm still upset about it. I literally remember when they announced it, and I remember having my head down in my hands, like, oh my God, Sweden, what have you done? Ultimately, it didn't matter since Eurovision was cancelled anyway, but that was a spectacularly bad decision. Like, I couldn't believe they'd done it.
It's wonderful when we strongly disagree, because I thought Daughter Song was so predictable and washy. I love the Mamas. They had the power, they had the energy, they brought a lot more. I did not get into Bulletproof at all. I
Oh,
mean, I didn't dislike it.
it's not that I disliked the Mamas or their
Yeah.
song. It was good, but I just thought Bulletproof was great.
Really? I thought it
And
was a
yeah.
generic pop song. I liked it well enough,
Mm.
but I was like, why is this the fan favorite all of a sudden? I just missed to click with it in the same way. So I was not surprised. I think it has a little bit more of the Ace Wilder factor, like busy doing nothing. It has a more of the modern feel to it, but then the Melody Festival fans don't always go with that kind of uh style. So that's why it was
Mm.
close. But yeah, I bet that's the thing. I think there were a lot of people, like there was two big camps, but I was surprised at the Mamas one because they were actually my favorite either in that year. I forgot which one it was, but I know there was another song I was rooting for even more. Let me go bring up the list real quick here. Kingdom Come. I know she wasn't going to win, but I love Kingdom Come. It just gave
Oh,
me
that was a great song. I really liked
yeah.
that song.
It was so grand. And on and on and on. I just loved it to pieces. So that was probably my favorite. But I hear what you're saying. Bulletproof was very popular. That was our original point, and then it didn't win. Granted, 1 point. Then yeah, Sanna Nielsen, she won by 2 or 3 points. I forgot. But yeah, that is definitely how it went down. So I just want to hear now your thoughts in the chat. We have just a few more minutes. Random questions, Q&A. As always, at ES United in the chat, let us know. With Tusse last year and now Anders, will Melfest become Idol 2.0? So Anders is, I guess, a judge on Idol. I mean, I would assume, I don't know all the acts. I would assume there have been other Idol and X Factor artists taking part in Melody Festivalen before, right? This is not something brand new, I would assume. I do know that Tusse, a lot was also, and a lot of people in Sweden agree with it. Not all of you will agree with it, but a lot of people are claiming it was a lot of narrative driven as well, in terms of like how popular he was due to his upbringing and the story that he had. I cannot confirm or deny that, but that's what a lot of people were saying as well. Hi guys, do you think Fullen from the French national final could do well at Eurovision? Could this song end up high in your ranking? Gabe, what do you think?
I have not listened to the French songs yet, I'll be honest. So I need to go back and listen to them through. I'll tell you next stream.
Next stream. Okay, well, I hate spoiling it for you then. But folks, I did a French reaction video, Thomas. So go to our channel, ESC United YouTube, and check it out. You get my full ranking. And if you don't want to know my answer, leave now, because I'm going to tell you in 5 seconds. If you want to stay, that's right. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. It has to win. I will move mountains to make sure that this wins. Not that I can do anything. It's just a fun thing to say. But I really love that song. It would be a fantastic song. It is so daring and out there, and it would be such a unique piece. I know that, and the French, again, there are a lot of French people who pick on the national final. I thought there were 4 or 5 songs. I'm like, what? I think it's a great selection, and I'm super excited about it. So, France, we're in for a treat, unless you pull a Slovenia, of course. But other than that, I'm really, really excited about that. Very important question, especially for you, Gabe. Sal, what are your expectations for the UK this year? The BBC usually announce something around now, right? What do you think?
I will gladly eat my words if this is wrong, but I have seen nothing to suggest that the process has been reformed in a sufficient way to change our fortunes. Let's not kid ourselves. There's no culture change in the way the BBC views Eurovision. They view it as a cheap way to fill prime time once a year.
Yeah.
Because it's very cost effective. It costs something like 1/5 of what an evening of that viewership would usually cost. If we get a great song, then I will obviously eat my words. But even if we do get a great song, who's to say the BBC is going to back it? When is the last time we actually properly backed an entry? It was probably 2017.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably 2017. And before that, I mean, if you look at our records, I'm thinking, Electro Velvet. Like, it was just a fever dream. It was terrible. Joe and Jake were nice lads, but like nothing really it didn't bring that much. Molly, Children of the Universe, the staging was horrific. And the vocal performance on the night it didn't really. I mean, it was so flat. Not as in she didn't sing flat, but the performance as a whole felt really flat. And you can just go on and on and on with this, and just keep finding more and more examples of mismanagement, insufficient support for artists, lack of care, and it is just such a shame. I mean, the one that really sticks out to me is when they randomly raised the key of Josh Dubervy's song in 2010 to a key he couldn't sing it in.
I know.
He knew he was going to miss the last note because he knew he couldn't sing that note. He told them this and they didn't do anything. It's indicative of the culture and of the problems we have. Like, we're never going to do well until we fix it.
And then you always then they can blame Europe, because Brexit or war or whatever excuse they come up with next. That's the most frustrating part. And Grace said it right. At least you can't do worse than last year, I guess, right? So that is maybe a silver lining there. But
don't underestimate us. Do not underestimate us.
Yeah, we have to take points away from the UK this time around. We have now at -2. But in all seriousness, so I think there are two options right now for the UK. Either they're scrambling, don't know what to do, and they're trying to find an act that is willing to sacrifice their career to do Eurovision and do a really bad result because they just don't have anything, or they're really gonna throw us off guard and have something so amazing. And I just trying to have that glimmer of hope that they will surprise us, or they just don't care to send something, and all of a sudden it becomes very popular. Like they didn't realize how popular. Sometimes it happens. I remember when Germany won 2010. Initially, Satellite, it barely won the national final. Right? It barely won, only because they pushed the other songs so hard. And then, then it did by like a point or so, and then it won because they didn't realize how popular it would be in the end. So maybe something like that could happen as well. But it's very frustrating when you see that kind of behavior. And I feel, even though I'm as American almost as I get at this point, but I'm still German, and I get equally upset when you see all that stuff that's happening. The only difference, at least Germany has like these occasional spasms where they're like, we're awesome, and then we suck again, for 5, and then we're awesome, but then they suck. But at least we had like a win and the 4th place and like some good results. UK just consistently just struggling right now, and it must be so disappointing. But as you pointed out, it is, people still watch it, whether it's hate watch it or it's just tradition, and they just think it's cheap entertainment. And it's unfortunate that they don't put anything in there, and that one time they do well now, maybe then it's almost like, well, we figured it out. I'm like, no. You got lucky.
This is the thing that I don't think people need to understand. British people genuinely do love Eurovision.
They do.
It's divisive like it is anywhere, but like 12 million people watch Eurovision in the UK each time. That's a massive number for a TV show in Britain. Astronomical. It is the only thing anyone is talking about while it's on. Social media completely explodes in the UK when Eurovision is on. People love it. And we've not had anything to get excited about for so long. How good would it be if, the UK went into Eurovision night thinking, bloody hell, we could win this. And then even if we didn't, even if we came 3rd or 4th or something, that sort of thing could completely transform the way we're viewed in the contest, both here and abroad. The last opportunity we had in 2009 when we got that top 5 result, we blew it. We blew it the very next year with that disaster. And, Pete Waterman, I would like to wish Pete Waterman, I hope, I hope he gets a hole in his shoe and stands in a puddle and his sock gets soggy. And then he has to walk around for the rest of the day with a wet sock. And then when he gets in, I want him to stand on a Lego.
See, you're worse than me because I usually tell people I hope both of their sides of the pillows will be warm when they go to bed. That's usually my kind of threat. So yours is even better. But I hear what you're saying. But yeah, and the thing is, people always say, I say certain dismissive UK fans, Europe hates us. People want, especially the Eurovision bubble, wants the UK to succeed for many different reasons. They're actually rooting for them. Not if the song isn't there, but when the song is there, they really actually are rooting for the UK. It's a thing with European fans. It's like we love to root for an underdog. It's human nature, I guess, in general. And UK, even with the biggest music market in Europe, is still an underdog at Eurovision at this point. And that's why people are rooting for it. So no, there is no such thing. People will vote for it. We also like nobody likes Portugal, and then they win out of nowhere. Nobody likes Germany, and then they win out of nowhere. Right? It happens. If a song is good, it'll come through. If San Marino can secure points, you can secure points. I'm just saying. There's nothing. It's just what it is. What do you think of the overall quality this year? Connor is asking. Italy is going to win by default if this continues because nobody else is trying. Do you have any thoughts at this point, or are you withholding judgment as of right now?
I think people say this every year. We have less than half the songs. It's a weak year until it's not. Like this. I have heard, God, this is the worst year ever. Every year I have watched the contests since 2008. So I am not concerned on that front. Okay. Personally, what do you think?
No, I mean, here's the thing. I always get annoyed when people start so early. It's a weak year. And I'm like, it's not even out yet. I will say, though, and when you watch all of my, because I always do my 20 versus 21 or 19 versus 20 videos, I've always, usually over the last 3 years, it's gotten better and better every year. As of right now, most of the countries that have delivered, not most, the majority at least, yes, underwhelmed me. So I'm a little, there's a more disproportionate number of songs where I feel, because there were a lot of in previous years like songs that I like but not love. Here are songs that a good amount of songs that I don't feel nothing, right? Or almost like dislike. The number is higher than what I usually see at this point in time. That does mean it's going to be a bad year overall, because I remember 2013 was a year where I had so many songs that I loved the crap out of them, but so many songs were just like, I want to rip my ears off, right? It was like very polarizing options. Other years were more consistent in quality. It's possible that 22 could become a 2013 for me, where it's just like a lot of songs I'm just like, eh, but then a lot of songs I go crazy over. Right now, I'm not like super stoked, but I'm also not like super nervous or upset about it either, because as you said, we're not halfway even there yet. And just because I don't necessarily connect with, and sometimes songs grow on you a little. In German, we call it Schönhören, meaning you listen to it pretty. Like you just getting so used to the song. And that's what happens sometimes. I still dislike the Latvian entry, but I'm started humming it. I'm like, damn it, is this my Norway?
It's happening!
No, I just really annoys the song. And it's not just the first line.
It's happening!
So it is definitely possible. So in a lot of songs when you're over live and you get, I'm not worried about it either. But yeah, I will say as of right now, I'm not as like, ooh, as some others. Like in 22, I was like, oh, this is already a good year. 21, this is a good year. I'm not quite there yet with this year, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a shitty year either. So
we've got a lot of revamps to come as well. Loads.
Yeah. So obviously Albania, that's the law there. And then we also have North Macedonia, and they are fighting over Israel. There's a lot of back and forth between the team and all of that in terms of what kind of revamp. If they don't do a revamp, then I'm concerned. But they are definitely they need to revamp that one. So, but hopefully that'll happen. Matt, you just described Sentimentai, humming, and love it. Well, I like Sentimentai anyway. Lithuania has just a pleasant song to me. It's just one of those songs that's not even like that grand or that amazing, but it's just some magic about it that I just can't get enough of. So I'm very much. So I think that's what we have for today. It's way longer than I wanted to talk anyways, but good stuff. And Gabe, you didn't completely suck this time around. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And that's the biggest compliment you'll get from me. I'm kidding. You were amazing as always. You know, otherwise you wouldn't be in here. You know, you don't need it. Yeah. No, I get it. So thank you everyone for watching, and more videos to come. And we'll be back, of course, with our next Mattitude live stream. Until then, y'all have a good night and talk to y'all later.